We all remember Troy Donahue, the golden-haired, blue-eyed heartthrob of the 1960s. His on-screen romances with stars like Sandra Dee pretty much defined an entire era of Hollywood glamour. He was the boy next door, the classic American dreamboat, an image that was carefully built and sold to millions of adoring fans. His face was plastered on every movie magazine, his life presented as an open book of beach parties, fast cars, and beautiful starlets. But what if the greatest love stories of his life were the ones he could never talk about? What if that perfect image was just that, an image? For decades, rumors have swirled about his secret life in the hidden gay world of old Hollywood, a world that thrived in the shadows, far away from the spotlights and red carpets. Now, we're looking into the claims that in his final years, Troy Donahue finally named two famous actors he secretly dated. This is a story about the real man behind the myth, the secrets he might have taken to his grave, and the modern search for a truth that Hollywood spent decades trying to bury. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to our channel for more hidden histories of the stars you thought you knew. To really get the weight of the secrets Troy Donahue might have been carrying, you have to understand just how famous he was and the perfect image he was forced into. First off, his name wasn't even Troy Donahue. He was born Merle Johnson Jr. The name, Troy Donahue, was an invention, cooked up by the legendary Hollywood agent Henry Wilson, the same guy who manufactured the careers and tough guy personas of stars like Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter. This wasn't just a stage name, it was a brand. And that brand was pure gold. Standing at 6'3" with a perfect blonde mane and piercing blue eyes, Donahue was practically built for stardom in the late 1950s. He was everything America wanted to see, clean-cut and impossibly handsome. His big break came in 1959 with A Summer Place. The movie was a massive hit, and its romantic theme song is still one of the most iconic instrumentals ever. At the heart of it all was Troy Donahue, playing the sensitive, lovesick teenager Johnny Hunter opposite Sandra Dee. Their chemistry was electric, and it shot them both to the top of the Hollywood A-list. The studios, especially Warner Brothers, knew a cash cow when they saw one. They immediately put him in a string of glossy melodramas to capitalize on his heartthrob status. Movies like Parish, Susan Slade, and Rome Adventure all followed the same playbook. Troy, looking incredible, falls for a beautiful but troubled young woman, and their passionate, often forbidden, romance carries the story. He was paired with the biggest female stars of the day, Connie Stevens, Suzanne Pleshette, Diane McBain. These on-screen relationships were splashed all over the fan magazines, blurring the line between what was real and what was fake. The public was sold a story of Troy Donahue as the ultimate ladies' man, both on and off the screen. For a few years in the early 1960s, he was one of the most popular stars in the world. Screaming fans mobbed him everywhere he went. Teenagers had his picture all over their bedroom walls. For a brief, shining moment, he was the absolute peak of Hollywood's romantic ideal. But the system that built him was also a cage. The brand was a heterosexual romantic hero, and there was no room for anything that contradicted that fantasy. The pressure to keep up the act was immense, defining that whole era and forcing countless stars into a world of secrets and fear. And it's in that suffocating environment that the whispers about Donahue's real life started, whispers that would follow him for the rest of his life. To understand the rumors about Troy Donahue, you have to picture the world he lived in. The Hollywood of the 1950s and 60s wasn't the open-minded place it is today. It was a tightly controlled empire run by a few powerful studios, and they were in the business of selling fantasies, not reality. A big part of that control was the infamous production code, or Hays Code, which slapped a rigid set of moral rules on movies. But its influence went way beyond the screen, creeping into the private lives of stars through morality clauses in their contracts. These clauses basically gave studios the power to ruin an actor for any behavior that could cause a public scandal. And back then, there was no bigger scandal for a leading man than being gay. It was a career killer, considered illegal in many places, and classified as a mental illness. So, the studios went to incredible lengths to police their stars and crush any hint of deviancy. This created a secret, parallel universe in Hollywood, a gay world that ran on whispers and backroom meetings. For LGBTQ+ actors, survival meant living a double life. Publicly, they had to seem straight, often going on studio-arranged dates with female stars just for the cameras. When rumors got too loud, studios would even orchestrate lavender marriages, fake marriages of convenience between a gay actor and a lesbian actress or a willing partner to create a respectable cover. The most famous example was Rock Hudson. To the world, he was the ultimate masculine hero. In private, he was a gay man terrified of being exposed. His agent, Henry Wilson, the same man who created Troy Donahue, brutally managed his image, even arranging his marriage to his secretary to kill a story in a tabloid magazine. This wasn't an exception, it was the rule. Tab Hunter, another blonde heartthrob, wrote in his memoir about the constant pressure and his own secret long-term relationship with fellow actor Anthony Perkins. Perkins, famous for playing Norman Bates in Psycho, was deeply conflicted about his sexuality and had secret relationships with men while publicly dating women and eventually getting married. These weren't just a few isolated cases, this was the reality for a huge part of the Hollywood community. The fear was real. Getting outed could lead to blackmail, public shame, and the complete destruction of a career. This was the world Troy Donahue came up in. He was a product of the exact same system and the exact same agent that managed Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter. The question isn't whether this secret world existed, we know it did. The question is whether Troy Donahue was part of it. For years, the talk about Troy Donahue's private life was just speculation among old Hollywood fans. But with the internet, those whispers have turned into a full-blown viral story. The claim you see on platforms like YouTube and TikTok is specific and dramatic, that Troy Donahue, in his later years, finally broke his silence and named two famous male actors he dated in secret. The titles of these videos are designed to grab you. Troy Donahue names the two gay actors of old Hollywood he dated in secret. The story they tell is compelling. An aging star, finally free from the studio system, unburdening himself of a lifelong secret. It's exactly the kind of closure and hidden history we all crave. The core of this whole thing is the idea of a confession. The story goes that he didn't just say he was gay, he named names, offering a key to unlock a hidden chapter of Hollywood history. But for a long time, the claims were fuzzy, with no real proof, no interview transcripts, no named sources, nothing solid. They were just assertions, repeated so often they started to sound like facts, that seemed to change around 2025. The story got a new, explosive detail. A YouTube video claimed to have bits from rare, unaired interviews with Donahue from the 1990s. In this supposed footage, Donahue is said to have admitted to relationships with men. And, most importantly, the video purports that he named one of his secret lovers, the brilliant and troubled actor, Anthony Perkins. This took the rumor from a vague idea to a specific, testable claim. Anthony Perkins, whose own secret gay life is well documented, was a believable and sensational name to link to Donahue. It connected two major stars of the era in a secret, forbidden romance, a tragic, epic story that's irresistible. The rumor now had a big name and a supposed source in these rare interviews. The question was no longer just a what if. It became, is this evidence real? Did Troy Donahue actually go on camera and name Anthony Perkins as his former lover? The viral claim had finally presented something to chase, and the real investigation could begin. The first and most important place to look is the definitive book on Donahue's life, the 2023 biography Inventing Troy Donahue, The Making of a Movie Star, by Michael Gregg Michaud. This is a deeply researched book, built on countless interviews with Donahue's friends, family, and colleagues. It is the most authoritative record of his life we have. And nowhere in its 518 pages is there any mention of Troy Donahue saying he was gay or naming any male lovers. The book covers his career highs, his personal demons, and his many public relationships with women, but the story of a secret gay life and a dramatic confession is completely missing. That's a huge omission. If Donahue had made such a confession, it's very likely a biographer as thorough as Michaud would have found a trace of it. However, we have to consider the timeline. Michaud's book was published in 2023. The new claims, specifically the YouTube video with the alleged 1990s footage, surfaced online in 2025. This means the book couldn't have debunked this specific piece of evidence. So while the biography's silence is telling, it can't be the last word. This brings us to the second part of the investigation, Anthony Perkins. It's a fact that Perkins lived a secret gay life for many years. His multi-year relationship with Tab Hunter is one of the most well-documented secret romances of old Hollywood. Perkins was deeply conflicted about his sexuality and eventually married photographer Barry Berenson and had 2 sons. Given that he was a contemporary of Donahues, it's not crazy to think their paths might have crossed. But possibility isn't proof. No major biography of Perkins, nor the tell-all memoir by his lover Tab Hunter, mentions any relationship with Troy Donahue. The connection only appears in these recent, unverified online claims. Finally, there's the original claim, that Donahue named 2 actors. Even in the world of online rumors, that second name is a ghost. It's almost never mentioned, and when it is, it changes from post to post. This seriously weakens the story's credibility. If a real confession happened, you'd expect the details to be consistent. The focus on the sensational name of Anthony Perkins, with no solid second name, suggests this might be more modern-day storytelling than a historical fact. So, where does that leave us? We have a viral claim that's gotten very specific. But we have zero independent verification of this supposed interview footage. We have no confirmation in the most definitive biography of Donahue, nor in the detailed records of Anthony Perkins' life. In fact, Donahue publicly denied being gay in a 1984 interview, suggesting people confused him with another blonde actor of the time. As of today, the claim remains an unsubstantiated internet rumor, a compelling story that has yet to show any real proof. While the internet speculates about a hidden life, the documented reality of Troy Donahue's life is already a story of incredible highs and devastating lows. A classic Hollywood tragedy, the golden boy image from the early 60s turned out to be a trap. As culture changed and the Beatles took over, the clean-cut, all-American guy he played suddenly looked old-fashioned. The phone stopped ringing. By the late 60s, the man who was once one of the biggest stars in Hollywood saw his career completely collapse. This career crash happened alongside a deep personal struggle. Donahue had battled alcohol and drug addiction for years, problems that got worse as his fame disappeared. The stories from this time are heartbreaking. He went broke, and for a time in the early 1980s, the former heartthrob was reportedly homeless, living in a bush in New York's Central Park. It was a fall from grace so extreme it became a cautionary tale, but that's not where his story ends. In a true show of strength, Donahue started to pull his life back together. He got sober. He started taking small roles, often making fun of his old image, like his part in John Waters' Cry Baby. He worked steadily for the rest of his life, showing a humility that people never saw during his glory days. His romantic life, which was so key to his public image, was also famously rocky. He was married 4 times, including a brief, chaotic marriage to his Rome Adventure co-star, Suzanne Plesha. In the last decade of his life, though, he found a lasting and deep love. He began a long-term relationship with Chinese-American opera singer Zheng Chao. By all accounts, it was a committed and loving partnership that brought him a lot of stability and happiness. They were together for many years until his death. In 2001, Troy Donahue had a heart attack and passed away at age 65. His partner, Zheng Chao, was by his side. This is the life we know he lived. It's the story of a man who was turned into an icon, buckled under the weight of that image, lost it all, and then fought his way back to a life of sobriety, dignity, and quiet love. It's a story with enough drama and tragedy on its own. The question that lingers is whether this very public struggle was also hiding a private one, a secret the world is now trying to piece together from whispers and digital ghosts. So why does this specific rumor about Troy Donahue refuse to die? Why, with no real proof, does the story of his secret gay life and a supposed confession continue to fascinate so many people? The answer probably has less to do with Donahue himself and more with the history his story taps into. The rumor feels so powerful because it speaks to a larger, painful truth: the systematic erasure of LGBTQ+ lives from Hollywood's official history. We're drawn to these stories because we know that for every secret that's come out, countless others were buried forever. We're basically searching for Hollywood's ghosts. For decades, the public was fed a sanitized, strictly straight version of history. Now, we have a collective hunger to find the more complex, real stories that were deliberately hidden. The Donahue rumor is a perfect vehicle for that hunger. You just have to look at the confirmed stories of his peers to understand why. Take Guy Madison, another handsome star from that era. For years, he was known as a rugged hero of westerns. It was only after he died that the world learned he had lived a secret life, having relationships with men. The story of Guy Madison proves that the template for the Donahue rumor is based in reality. These secrets were real. Men sold to the public as paragons of heterosexuality were, in fact, living secret gay lives, and the truth often only came out long after they were gone. The Donahue rumor, then, feels like a kind of historical detective work, even if the methods are shaky. It's an attempt to fill in the blanks left by a system of repression. When we hear a story about Troy Donahue naming secret lovers, we're not just hearing gossip. We're hearing an echo of Rock Hudson's tragic secret, of Tab Hunter's forbidden love, of Anthony Perkins's inner conflict. We're hearing the silent history of a whole generation of artists who had to choose between who they were and what they did. The virality of the claim is also fueled by a sense of injustice. There's a desire to reclaim these figures, to retroactively give them the freedom to be themselves. By imagining a world where Troy Donahue did get to tell his truth, even at the very end, we are righting a historical wrong in our collective imagination. So, while the factual basis for the claim about Donahue is unsubstantiated, its emotional and cultural basis is solid. It's a story that feels true, even if it isn't, because it lines up with a larger historical truth we now know all too well. It's a testament to the power of secrets and our deep need to bring them into the light. So, after digging through the history, the biographies, and the modern digital rumor mill, where do we land on Troy Donahue and the two gay actors he supposedly named? The truth, like a lot of Hollywood history, is messy. On one hand, you have the documented record. The most thorough biography of Donahue makes no mention of any such confession. His public life was defined by his relationships with women, ending in a long, loving partnership with Sheng Chao. His known story is one of a man built up and torn down by the fame machine, who battled addiction and found peace in his later years. On the other hand, you have this persistent rumor. A whisper that has, as of 2025, grown into a very specific claim involving Anthony Perkins and alleged suppressed interview footage. But this claim lacks any independent verification and is contradicted by Donahue's own public statements. In the end, the story of Troy Donahue's alleged secret life may just be a question without an answer. He came from a cruel system that demanded secrecy, a system we know for a fact forced many of his peers, like Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter, into the closet. Whether he was one of them remains unconfirmed. The fascination with this story tells us something powerful. We're still dealing with the legacy of that repressive time. We're still looking for the lost stories and hidden lives. The rumor about Troy Donahue is more than just gossip. It's a reflection of our desire to understand the real human cost of the Hollywood dream. It's a reminder that behind every perfect image is a complicated person, whose full story we might never truly